Welcome back to another episode of the Field of 68's NBA Draft Prospect Profiles here, presented by Unified Healing. My name is Rob Dauster. I got Jeff Goodman with me, and we are going to be talking about Jeff Goodman's single favorite player in the history of the sport of college basketball.
Slow it down.
Likes him more than Robbie Hummel, likes him more than Doug McDermott, likes him more than anybody else in the history of the sport. That would be Marquette point guard Tyler Kolek, who Jeff Goodman, I believe, said during the season was the best point guard that we have ever seen in college basketball in the 100 years that this sport has existed. He's coming off a year where he averaged 15.3 points, 7.5 assists, nearly 5 rebounds on shooting splits of 50% from the floor, 39% from three, Jeff, and 85% from the line for our Marquette team. That was right there with UConn at the top of the Big East, coming off of a season where they won the Big East regular season and the Big East tournament title. Kolek, a two-time All-American in college, is a guy that is projected by many to be somewhere in the late first round. How do you see him projecting to the NBA level? Because I think, without a doubt, his strengths are basketball IQ, point guard ability, passing ability, ball screen effectiveness, and weaknesses. I mean, he's about 6'1", and there's very real questions about what he's going to be defensively at the next level.
So when I watch Tidjane McConnell in the NBA playoffs, offensively, I see some things of Tyler Kolek, right? How TJ can get to the basket, how he can find his way in there, and he's crafty enough and tough enough to make plays, especially for his teammates. Now, there's two big differentiators in Kolek and Tidjane McConnell. One is Kolek's a much better shooter. Tidjane McConnell is not a threat, really, to shoot the ball from the perimeter. Two, Tidjane McConnell is an elite defender. Tyler Kolek is a average defender at best. So they're very different, but I guess I'll go to the fact of that watching Tidjane McConnell have the impact he did on the games, largely because he was able to put pressure on the defense, get to the basket, get into the lane, and make plays for himself and for others, gives me optimism that Tyler Kolek he can be a really good backup point guard in the league.
Well, I agree that he will be a very good backup point guard in the league. I don't love the McConnell comparison
Because they're different. I get it. They're different. McConnell can't shoot. Kolek's a really, really good shooter. Kolek can't defend. I'm just saying, in terms of how crafty they are, that they can put pressure on the defense, that's where I think Kolek can make an imprint. Offensively, we talked about Reed Sheppard, and I don't know if they're similar. They're not, but they are in some ways because of their size. And you worry about Kolek more than Reed Sheppard because Kolek's not a great athlete, and he's not bigger and stronger. Reed Sheppard's already built a lot thicker than Tyler Kolek is.
Yeah, so with Kolek, I think the best thing that you can say about him is that if you look at some of these 4-year point guards, guys that have been All-Americans, guys that have won at a really, really high level throughout their collegiate careers, and see the way that it's translated to the NBA level, it speaks really well to what being an elite point guard, elite basketball IQ, elite teammate, all that kind of pedigree, what it says for the transition from the college game to the pro game. Jalen Brunson's the obvious one, right? Like, everyone's going to throw that Jalen Brunson and spent 3 years at Villanova. Look at what's happened to him, right? I think Fred VanVleet was probably Jalen Brunson before Jalen Brunson goes undrafted. Now an all-star $100 million contract, all that kind of good stuff. But I look at Peyton Pritchard, right? Tidjane McConnell, you mentioned. I look at someone like an Andrew Nembhard and what he's done and the role that he's kind of found himself with the Pacers. I look at what the success that Monte Morris had in the NBA. I look at Colin Gillespie still finding a way to kind of hang around NBA rosters, right? And someone with what the strengths that Tyler Kolek has, to me, you're going to be able to find a spot on an NBA bench somewhere, right? Because the thing that he does, I think, better than anybody else in this draft is his ability to come off those pick and rolls to his left hand and be able to whip passes anywhere, right? He can throw the lobs, he can throw he can throw the little pocket passes. He can hit people in the weak side corner. He can hit people on the opposite wing. He can hang in the air and throw those little wraparound passes to his left hand. Like, he is just an elite passer out of ball screens. And while the season for Marquette did not end the way that I think he probably would have wanted it to, I do think it's important to note, before he suffered that oblique injury I think it was late February, right? Um, there was a 6-week stretch where he was the best player in college basketball, the best player in America. He was averaging like 18-10 in a run through 11 games where Marquette went 10-1, and the only loss that they had was at UConn, right? Like, he had a run where he completely dominated the sport after everybody had kind of written off Marquette as a national title contender. And I think that that is something that stood out to me. He plays off 2 feet really well. He understands. I don't think he can dunk, but I think he understands how to finish in and around the basket, hit those floaters over people, finish with the little lefty scoops over length at the bucket. He's tough as hell. He will fight you, right? Like, he is going to fight for every single second that he can get in the NBA. And I think that that will be enough to get him on an NBA roster, to get him in a place where he can hang around. Like, I think he's one of those guys where you're going to look up in 8 years and be like, oh, shoot, I forgot that he was on XYZ team. I think he's just going to be around the league for a long time because of all of those things that I just mentioned.
And all those things you said at the end there apply to TJ McConnell. All
Mhm.
those same things
Mhm.
apply to him. Again, they're different. And he's got part of Peyton Pritchard's game. He's got part of Van Vliet's game. He's got part of McConnell's game. But ultimately, what he is a guy that you could trust, that you know is going to make the right decisions, that you know will lead the second unit, right? And give you some offensive spurtability, right? He can score himself. He can make people better. Now, again, how much is he going to hurt you on the defensive end? That's going to probably ultimately determine what his role ends up being in the NBA. You know, can he be an 18-minute a game second unit point guard, or could he start even? Like, I don't think he'd start for a really good team, to be honest. And I'm the biggest Tyler Kolek fan there is. I don't think he's starting for a playoff team anytime soon. But could he be a starter for for a non-playoff team in the NBA? Maybe.
Whether you are a world class athlete or a podcaster like me, we all understand the importance of mental and physical well being and proper recovery for top notch performance. After a 6-month season loaded with cross country travel, I can promise you that proper recovery is a priority for me these days. That's why I'm excited that Unified Healing is sponsoring this episode of the Field of 68. Unified Healing is a new and super innovative global network of wellness centers powered by Energy Enhancement System, or the EE system. If you haven't heard of the EE system yet, you'll want to listen up. This technology promotes wellness, deep relaxation, purification, and rejuvenation. Whether you're here in New Jersey or at one of the hundreds of other locations across the globe, access to a center is easy and affordable. If you're interested in experiencing the EE system technology for yourself, go to unifiedhealing.com/unified68 to learn more and find a center near you. That's UNIFYD healing.com/UNIFYD, the number 6, the number 8. No material or testimonials on the Unified Healing website are intended to be viewed as medical advice or as a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified healthcare provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition or treatment, and before undertaking a new healthcare regimen, including the EE system.
I have a comparison for him, a guy whose game is visually looks really similar in terms of some of the plays that they made in college and some of the plays that this guy made in the pros. And I don't know, I'm curious to see what your reaction to this will be.
Yeah.
Goran Dragic, right?
Yeah, I've
I'm
seen
not
that
sure.
one. I've seen
I'm
that
not
one.
sure that
I like it.
Yeah, I'm not sure that Kolek has the ceiling that Goran Dragic did. Like there was a year where Dragic averaged 20 points per game, right? I think he was an all-star for a year, like most improved player. There was a while where he was one of maybe like a top 10 point guard in the NBA, right? Top 5 point guard in the NBA, maybe. That might be a little bit of a stretch. And I'm not sure that Kolek has that necessarily in his range of outcomes. But if you look at the way that his trajectory has gone and his player development has gone from starting at George Mason to averaging 6 points as a sophomore at Marquette, to turning into an All-American, to turning into, like I said, the best player in the sport of college basketball for a good 6-week stretch towards the end of this past season. Like I can see him continuing to get better, right? And like I said, I don't know if he's necessarily going to be an all-star, but if Fred VanVleet found a way to be able to do it and Jalen Brunson found a way to be able to do it, like I'm not going to write off that possibility for Kolek, because I do believe that his passing ability and the fact that he understands how to play with those physical limitations is something where it will be able to, it will translate. I think that there is an upside if you're drafting him, even if it's in the late first round. You kind of know what you're getting. I do think that there is an upside to his ability.
So I have the best one. I want you to Google when we're done with this, Scott Skiles. That's who I want you to Google, because I know he's a little bit earlier than you're a little.
I know Scotty Skiles.
Diapers. You might not even been in diapers when Scott Skiles was playing, but I watched Scott Skiles, and he's got a lot of Scott Skiles in him. He does. Tough as shit. Doesn't look the part necessarily. Will fight you. All the things you said earlier. Can score, but it's not going to give him a ton of scoring. That's not going to be his role at the next level. His role is going to be to run the team, to make open shots, and to move the ball. And Skiles did all that shit and fought everybody tooth and nail for everything.
Do you think that Tyler Kolek can dunk? Have you ever seen him dunk a basketball?
I can't remember. I think I asked him. I don't know. We should have had him do it in the backyard when I was out in Rhode Island with he and his family. We should have seen if he could dunk. I'll text him. Maybe I'll text him right now and see if he gets back.
Because that's, I think, with Fred VanVleet, we had those same questions, right? And while Kolek did not have the same caliber of college career that Jalen Brunson did, we had those same questions about Jalen Brunson, right? Like, who's he going to guard at the NBA level? How's this going to translate at the NBA level? How is Fred VanVleet, who's 6 foot nothing, going to be able to play at that level? And what I keep coming back to is that these guys that have been 4-year point guards, that know how to play, that have proven that they can control a team and run a team at the college level and have won a lot at the college level, like it just translates to the NBA. And I think at some point the market is going to catch up to that, right? Like I don't understand why we keep seeing them slip through the cracks. Maybe it's just a result of the NBA buying into potential and betting on guys that are 6'8" with a certain level of athleticism and a certain skill set, because if you do hit on one of those guys, you're going to get someone that is going to be, you can control them for 9 years, right? And you're going to be able to have someone that is an all-star level player, and it's more likely that they'll be an all-star level player, I guess. But I don't know, man. I just see a ton of value when you can get some of these 4-year point guards coming into the league.
Yep. No, listen, I like Kolek. I think he's going to go somewhere probably late first, early second is what I'm told by NBA guys. And again, I see him being a 10, 12-year pro. And like you said, you look up and you see Tidjane McConnell still in the league at whatever he is, 32 years old, and impacting an NBA playoff series. I could see that with Kolek as well down the road.
Yeah, well, listen, keep it tuned here to the Field of 68. For the next couple of weeks, we're going to be continuing rolling out these NBA draft prospect profiles, nearly 30 of them when things are all said and done. And June 19th, we will have a live first round mock draft that you can kind of follow along with. So until then, for Jeff Goodman, my name is Rob Dauster. Keep up all of these prospect profiles for the next 2 weeks until the draft. That's coming up soon. See you guys.